have all endorsed. So we're very excited about that. We also have a ton of different labor unions, business organizations, the LA Times, LA County Democratic Party, and LAUSD. You're going to start seeing our ads on cable and YouTube, as well as a bunch more digital ads on Instagram and Facebook. So feeling optimistic. If anyone wants a free yard sign, I'll put the link in the chat to get one. You just put in your address and one of our volunteers will go and place it in front of your home. On to non-measure HLA stuff. The Ballona Creek bike path extension is going to be at council this week. It should go on consent. And once that passes, then the city departments will be officially directed to apply for grant funding for construction for the bike path extension. So that's exciting. And then Streets for All just dropped a whole bunch of endorsements today, and I'm just going to quickly go through them. These are the candidates we believe will do best for things related to bikes and mobility. In CD2, we've endorsed Jillian Burgos. In CD4, we've endorsed Nithya Raman. In CD8, we've endorsed Marquise Harris-Dawson. In 10, we've endorsed Heather Hutt. In 12, Serena Oberstein. And in 14, Wendy Carrillo. And for anyone that's asking, we are well aware of Wendy Carrillo's DUI. We had a very robust discussion about it. Obviously, that getting a DUI is not compatible with safer streets. She has shown contrition and regret and vowed to do better. She has not brushed it aside. She has owned up to it. And she has been an incredible champion of safer streets before the incident in the state assembly. And her questionnaire, which we've posted online, was head and shoulders above the other candidates. So that is why we chose to endorse Wendy. But I have been getting a lot of questions on how we can endorse somebody that was recently convicted of a DUI, and that was our logic. I think that's all I have, Rob. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Did you want to plug the event that's happening this Saturday?
Yeah, so there is an event happening this Saturday. Thank you, Rob, as a co-host. Yes, if you have a lot of money and nothing to do, you can come. But also, if you have a little bit of money or even no money, you are welcome to come. We have a policy where we don't turn anyone away. So if you donate $1, you are welcome to come and join us. And it will be from 2 to 5 at a private home in Mar Vista. And I see Glenn's hand.
Glenn, you got your hand up?
Yes, I was just trying to find the council file number on the Ballona Creek. Oh, I see it. It's the third one down, right? The 140499 SC7. That's the one that's coming up. Is that the one that's coming up for city council?
Yes, that's right.
Great, thank you.
It'll be at council tomorrow on consent.
Tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Great. Anything else? Thank you, Michael. Recap of Saturday's event. I am still working on notes. If you go online to our website, you'll see newsprint notes as one of the links, and it's my transcribing what was put on newsprint onto a Google Doc. Please take a look at it. There's a lot of repetitive items that are articulated in multiple goal areas, and I've not taken the time to connect those or to try to summarize those. I think that's a natural next step. I think there are some things that strike my fancy or strike me as things that I need to do or want to do as the current chair, and I'll indicate some of those, but part of that is filling out the roster for the LABAC, make sure we have a full set of committee and alternates on board, as well as kind of onboarding kinds of stuff, and then budget issues. But please feel free to take a look at the document and try to do your own synthesis of that information. And if there are particular projects that speak to you that you want to be a part of, also that would be terrific for you to kind of raise your hand. Part of this is going to be who's willing to do what. We can have something that is an urgent and high priority project, but nobody wants to work on it. And it's not going to get done. So as you peruse this, take a look at what you're willing to support and commit to. That will help move some of this along nicely. But for those who are able to attend, any thoughts, feedback, or comments that you want to give about it?
I think somebody's trying to get on.
Nope. Any comments, Karen? Jennifer?
No, I wonder what this is like for the people who weren't able to participate, if there's a way to, I don't know, make it a more connected output.
Maybe you and I could do interviews with those people.
Try to get their contributions to the brainstorm.
For those who weren't able to attend and are on the committee, what do you think would work in terms of?
Rob, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we lost sound.
Glad you said that. I thought it was me.
You said, you know, those who weren't there, what do you think would work? And then it cut off.
Okay, I'm going to switch to my computer. How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. For those of you who weren't able to participate, what would be a good way for us to solicit your input for our goal areas? Michael, any thoughts? Sorry to put you on the spot. You could turn it into some sort of online survey, like a type form or something like that, and get feedback that way. That might be an organized way to do it. Google form. Good. Julian, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think I agree with Michael. That would probably be the simplest and easiest way.
It is a Google Doc currently, but you're thinking a survey or something would be better?
And the surveys are great because you can capture the information and leave then a small block if somebody wants to elaborate on things. Then electronically, I mean, even if people were at the retreat, fill it out too, because then it kind of tabulates everything for us.
Oh, okay. Does Google have a survey tool?
You've probably answered several in your life.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take a look at if anybody's particularly adept or done it more than once, and is wanting to help me, let me know. Glenn?
I think that's a great idea. I know this is kind of a time-consuming prospect, but I did want to just suggest that if you as the chair wanted to meet with less than a quorum of folks together, you could do like a mini retreat, and not worry about, you could just do it informally if it was less than a quorum. So I guess that would be 6, 3. So you and Rhea. Anyway, you can figure that out. But just a suggestion. I don't know how many. I know we had 10 there, right? And so I don't know the total number that weren't there, including the members and alternates. But it might require 2 sessions, but it could be abbreviated certainly. But you could maybe send the information, like all the posted comments that we put up, and say, hey, look those over, and then you certainly could just do it. But if you want to make it interactive, that would be a way you could do it. Great. Without having a separate meeting.
I think maybe we can try a little bit of combination of both, to move it along. So great suggestions. I appreciate that. And we'll try to get this done in the next 30 days, or sooner if possible. Thank you.
There are some staffing needs. I want to let you know that as the chair, I'm happy to run the meetings and create the agendas. It would be really great if I didn't also have to be secretary and to transcribe notes from the Zoom calls or to take notes during the meeting. So if you have any interest in kind of being secretary, please let me know. Jennifer and I are kind of co-captaining, trying to fill vacant seats. Abraham, welcome. Glad to see somebody here who is could be an alternate or a primary for CD9, and encourage you to keep an eye open. I have talked to a couple of people, Yolanda Davis Overstreet, about her input for some of her areas. So it's all good. Keep your suggestions coming. For at the retreat, one of the things that we tried to identify are those who wanted to serve on committees. Please note, Janice is not going to be a part of advocacy and education. It doesn't work with her time schedule. Michael, Brennan, or Julian, if you have a preference that you want to state now in terms of subcommittees, please let me know. Julian, anything you want to commit to at this point, or keep your options open at this point?
I haven't really thought that much about it yet, so I'll keep my options open.
Great. Brennan, how about you? I know you've been attending both.
I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll just pick one, and rather than attending both. Let's go advocacy and education.
Okay.
Even though I like bikeways. Ay.
I mean, you can always attend, right? So
I know, but I always spread myself too thin. That's for my life.
Glenn, you've got your hand up.
Once you finish going around Hollywood Squares. I
Okay.
just want-
Lionel, did you want to commit to either of those?
Yeah, another mini retreat.
The Planning and Bikeways or Advocacy Education Subcommittee?
Oh. Maybe if I had to pick, I would say advocacy.
You don't have to pick.
He did pick.
Oh, he
He's
did
on
pick.
there. He
Okay.
picked at the retreat.
Oh, okay, great. I have you down as TBD. Okay. And Eli is not in attendance. Okay. We are also looking for somebody to work our Instagram account. So please let me know if that's of interest to you. And I know Julian and I have talked kind of informally about web assistance and working with our WordPress. Is that still of interest, Julian, or?
Yeah, still happy to help there any way I can.
Great. Glenn?
Yeah, I was going to comment on the subcommittees, but on the WordPress, I'm working with another website for my neighborhood council. I am not yet proficient, but there's a couple of us that are working together on it, so it's possible I could help, but not at this moment. On the subcommittees, I did say at the retreat that if you fill up for bikeways and planning, that I'd be happy to step back, because I'm just as happy to. We hardly ever take votes. I mean, I shouldn't say we do take votes, but it's not like it's we generally agree, right? We work it out so that I don't know that I'm missing. And I could attend and probably would attend virtually, but I realize I can't do that if I'm a member of the committee. I have to be there in person. So I just wanted to I don't know how close you are to filling up that committee or not, but I just wanted to remind you of that. And that we could have that conversation when you get close to being full, or when you're full and someone else wants to join.
Got it. Thank you so much. Do we have a cap on the committee membership?
Yes, it's 9.
Oh, okay, we're not.
So we have Philip myself, Karen, Glenn, and Michael
And-
Schneider.
Yes, and Brennan.
Oh, Brendan. So you're committing, Brendan, is
Yeah.
that right?
I'm in on subcommittee with the planning bikeways.
Awesome, okay.
And Michael, you're good with planning bikeways engineering as well?
Yep, I'm happy where I'm at.
Okay,
Awesome.
terrific.
Okay,
Terrific.
that's 6.
Okay, the other thing that I have is something that I'm working on is the BAC resource manual, new member onboarding. And so if you have thoughts about that, also please reach out to me and let me know if you have thoughts or want to partner with me. Otherwise, it's me deciding on what I think you all need. So of course, I'm open to feedback and your contributions. If you moving on to item 7, advocacy and education subcommittee, if you've looked at biking in LA, he has had a petition drive to send a petition demanding a public meeting with Mayor Bass to talk about the dangers of walking and biking on the mean streets of LA. So if you haven't done that, that's a simple advocacy step that you can take. Brendan or Julian, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do for the guide to biking in West LA?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's, we had a meeting on this, and our concept is to how to create, something specific to CD11 that is, shows the bike stores, shows the bike lanes, any kind of bike resource, because I think the one thing we all need to do is get the word out there that we are a resource for many different people. So that's been the sort of impetus for that.
Yeah, good. To show kind of bike clubs, if we can do kind of any, what are to give a user's guide, there's Lagrange is in West LA. They're a very competitive group. Are there other less competitive groups in the area that people can connect with? And Biker Wave is a bike kitchen in the area, really kind of a cool place. So we're just trying to put some human interest in biking and provide some guidance for the areas that we're from. One of the outcomes that happened is we've connected with our planning director from CD11, Jeff, and he's forwarded names of constituents who have concerns about biking. And I was able to connect 3 doctors who bike to Cedar Sinai through Santa Monica and City of LA to a professor at UCLA who invited them to their class and to talk about the hazards and benefits of biking. And it was a really exciting, intriguing conversation with the students. One of the doctors is a YouTuber, and he goes by the name Namesh in LA. And he's done a number of videos on bollards and the things missing in West LA. So I think part of this is to encourage CD council reps to create relationships with their transportation planning person to develop this community of concerned people. So working in partnership. Interestingly, LA Times recently listed 23 bike shops in LA and did some promo pieces on them. There were some that they didn't get, and some in your community. And so the idea of taking hold of that and giving resources to regular Joe and Josephine Bruin, who's looking for cycling opportunities, how do we help them connect to their local bike shop? The AARP, in relationship with the League of American Cyclists, put out a bike audit tool. So if you're ever interested in what that would look like, it's a good ways to take a look at what some organizations are doing to audit their community. And then the National Bike Summit's coming up in DC. Philip, you want to take over in terms of planning and bikeways reports?
Certainly. Thank you, Rob, for that introduction. So in terms of the Planning and Bikeways Engineering Subcommittee, joint subcommittee report and related motions. So I guess the first motion we will not be able to consider since we don't have quorum. And what would you propose, Rob, that we save that for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to introduce it, it's a motion to support Council File 231363, and in addition proposed extending bike and dedicated bus lanes to downtown LA. And Michael had a proposed motion, which is linked here, and also a map. And just to kind of describe what this what this council file is. So the motion for council file, let's see this, 230918 is the city council instruct the chief legislative analyst with the assistance of the city administrative officer, DOT, Department of Public Works, and personnel department to report back in 60 days on recommendations and best practices to streamline and implement better coordination between these departments and bureaus who build and maintain public infrastructure in the public right-of-way, sidewalks, and parkway by evaluating, reducing the number of steps involved in the approval process, providing clear guidance to the public and appropriate timelines for implementation. And so there, so in other words, that's kind of like a framework or for how to improve, implementation and regulation in the public right of way. And so Michael's motion had to do with creating I guess like a bike pathway from. Now I'm forgetting the intersections. Michael, can you remind me?
Sorry, Philip, this is not
This is your
Venice.
motion.
Is this Venice?
Yes.
You're asking about the bike path after Arlington?
So in other words, the council file is to streamline improvement of in the public pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure in the public right of way, and the link to your motion is regarding this particular instance of needed collaboration and cooperation among the different departments in the public right of way.
I'm not sure I'm following. This is specific to Venice Boulevard?
So, wait a minute, I guess I'm talking about the wrong motion. Yes, this is specific to the, I was talking about a different motion, which is
I'm happy to go into
let me-
detail on Venice,
Yes.
but I wonder if it might make sense just to do it when we can actually vote on it.
Well, the reason I mentioned this is because subsequent to the original discussion that we had, there was some I was hearing some concerns, and I just wondered, even though we're not going to vote on it, if it would be good to discuss those concerns.
Okay, so do you want me to tell me what you want me to do? I'm happy to share my screen and show a map of what it is, and we can talk about it, or what?
Okay,
You
so
tell me.
it was very helpful what you presented before. And I'm just talking about just giving the people in this meeting an understanding of what we're going to be voting on in a couple of months. But there was also some issues that came up that might possibly be able to be addressed in the interim, so that we're not, sitting here 2 months from now and there are disagreements. And so, Jennifer, do you want to mention what your concerns were?
Well,
with-
do you want me to show the plan first before we
Well,
talk about?
I don't know, I guess everyone, since they're not on our subcommittee, they haven't heard it. So yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Does that make sense to you, Jennifer?
Okay,
Jennifer's nodding.
so I'll go ahead and share my screen. Don't know why. There we go. So the idea is to get people on bikes safely to downtown while not negatively impacting transit, mostly along Venice Boulevard. So zooming in, there are already protected bike lanes on Venice Boulevard between Robertson and La Cienega. And it's already ready for a bus lane. They haven't installed it yet. DOT is working on a Caltrans permit, and once they have it, they will extend the protected bike lanes between La Cienega and Venice to Fairfax and Venice. And that's where everything stops today. Heather Hutt introduced a motion that we worked with her office on to extend the protected bike lanes from Fairfax to Arlington, which is where the street, narrows over here. So that'd be a nice long stretch, probably about 2 miles of protected bike lanes. The problem after Arlington is Venice narrows considerably. And in speaking with Metro, if it's not enough just to remove parking on Venice, you would also have to remove a travel lane due to the way the intersections are. And so the result would be a comfortable bike lane, but it would absolutely snarl transit, and the bus would be caught in traffic with cars. So the idea here from Arlington all the way to Main Street is to do a bus lane that bikes could also use. It would be a 24/7 bus lane. So assuming drivers respect that, it would actually be pretty comfortable. But also to provide a safe biking route on more neighborhood streets, going up on 4th Avenue to Country Club to Gramercy Place, up Gramercy to 11th Street, and then continue on 11th Street, which has lights at Western and Normandy and Vermont. There would be a jog at Hoover. There's already a funded light that's coming here. And then you would take 11th down to Chickern Court near the Staples Center. Chickern Court, there's a plan for it to be pedestrianized. And so the plan would be just to have a safe bike passage through it. Take the existing protected bike lane 1 block south on Figueroa to 12th Street. And then LADOT would install a protected eastbound bike lane on 12th Street, just like they already did on 11th. So 11th is one way going west, 12th would be one way going east. And all of this would end at San Pedro. There is another project that will put bike lanes on San Pedro. And so that's why we're thinking San Pedro is a good border. And then when Venice turns at Main Street, turns into 16th Street, there's no more buses after 16th Street. So it'd be pretty easy to put in a protected bike lane between Main Street and San Pedro down here. So all things considered, we think this is a pretty good compromise for less confident riders, people that want to chill a ride. They just go a few blocks north and they have a great way to get downtown. And for more adventurous riders or riders that are comfortable sharing a lane with a bus, you'd have a shared bike bus lane. And that would also accomplish not snarling the bus. So that's it.
Nice job, Michael. Jennifer has a question.
Yeah, Michael, the 11th Street section, is that a protected bike lane or are they sharrows, or I didn't quite get that idea of what you were.
11th Street is a pretty calm neighborhood street through this section. So this would be more like traffic calming features, neighborhood traffic circles, chicanes, things like that.
Chicanes?
Mhm.
Could you clarify that?
That's like the circle in the middle, isn't it?
That's
Chicanes are mid-block treatments that slow cars down. So basically there'd be a number of features to keep traffic chill and calm.
bollards,
No, it could be a bump out.
a bump?
Like the roundabout? Like those kind of-
I don't know.
Here, a chicane is this. Give you an example. Well, there's many different examples, but this is one example. It's just something that makes cars go slower and more deliberately. In LA, we usually place them in the middle of the street.
Okay, with
Like a little cluster of bollards in yellow. in the
I've
middle of the
seen
street.
those,
Like
yeah.
on slow streets.
Yeah, similar to slow street.
Just slow. Okay, got it. Not even sharrows, right?
It's that street.
But signage,
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to
wayfinding.
Clarify
Yep.
the slow street concept.
Thanks, Michael. That's provides a lot more clarity. Philip, anything else that you wanted to add?
I do have one
Yeah.
more,
Mhm.
thing to say. I know this is a subcommittee conversation, but, I did notice in another city, I don't recall which one, they had, like a bike lane next to the bus lane on the outside. Or, and the thing is, you were talking about it's too narrow and they're gonna take away a lane. But wasn't there another concept where they were gonna narrow 2 lanes? They were gonna make them narrower?
That was on Venice Boulevard further west, where the street is a lot wider. The portion that was recently implemented in Palms and Mar Vista, this section here, they did narrow lanes to make that possible. But that is not an option over here, where Venice is much more narrow. It wouldn't make everything fit.
Anything, they won't touch the sidewalks, right?
Typically, so there's actually a minimal amount of repaving that's needed, which is good if we want the project done faster. But if the city does have to repave, they would have to put in curb ramps, ADA compliant curb ramps.
Which is a good.
Hey, Michael, it's Taylor. Would the bus lane be protected at all with even plastic bollards or anything like that or not?
It could be, because it's 24/7, there's no reason it couldn't be protected. So I also asked that question, and I think that could also make it a lot more comfortable for someone on a
Yeah,
bike.
totally. This is great, Michael.
That'd be a nice game
Yeah.
changer.
That would be fabulous.
Great. Anything else, Philip or Michael? All right.
Yeah, that's all I had on that particular item. And then after that, we had 2 items regarding signage. And the first item is on signage communicating how to use protected bike lanes and to keep them free for cyclists to go through. So there was this example of food trucks parking not in the bike lane, but using the bike lane for their customers to line up. And there was one instance where the proprietor of the food truck had even put a cone in the protected bike lane, telling people that it was closed. And so the signage that we're talking about is signage that LADOT has used to inform the public of what the purpose of the bike lane is and of the need to keep the lanes free for bicyclists to go through. And so LABAC asked us as a subcommittee to give him feedback on what locations we think would be where these signs would be useful. And so if anyone in the meeting has some ideas, please let us know. And then second, that was B. On item C, this is for temporary closures of bike lanes in construction areas. And we talked about having similar kind of signage explaining what the situation is regarding that bike lane space, which is now being closed. And we were looking at Council File 230918, which is the one I was referring to earlier incorrectly, which talks about coordination between different city departments to be able to better manage the pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure in the public right of way. And so in other words, we were going to look at this council file and tell LADOT where we want the signs and how we want to see this carried out. So that was item C. And then the other 2 items were the road resurfacing schedule and the project suggestion list. And the resurfacing schedule is a schedule that shows where these roads are scheduled for resurfacing, which is when they would repaint them. And then the project suggestion list is stakeholder suggestions for where bicycle improvement projects should take place. And I understand that LADOT uses that list sometimes when they're looking for projects. So that was what our subcommittee had brought forward to bring to your attention at this meeting. So thank you,
Yeah.
Rob.
So in the planning and bikeways engineering, there is a standing agenda item of road resurfacing schedule and project suggestion list. And it wasn't often talked about in that meeting, and so I wanted to make sure people understood what the heck those two things were, that there was an explanation and that its utility was explained a little bit. But we'll go into that, I think, also in the resource manual to make sure people understand what's happening.
Good, yeah.
Glenn, yeah, your hand raised.
Yeah, just on the one that's the list of potential or suggested projects. We discussed in the subcommittee that is something that periodically, not every time, every month, but it is something that LADOT does look at when they're looking at potential projects. So it's not just a academic exercise, it's something that actually can make a difference. It does include a grid of that Michael, expanded out to try to put some more
Metrics or something.
the more details, and including not just about the project but also support for the project, etc. So the more that can be put on, beside just say bike lanes on this street from here to here, putting that additional information is useful as well.
Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with that?
I'm sorry, Rob. I was dealing with a fire. Can someone just repeat the last 20 seconds?
The project suggestion list, you've added stuff to it, and just
I haven't added anything to it in a long time.
what's your understanding of how it might be used?
Oh,
Michael, I was referring to the columns. You had added columns to it.
the columns were to try to qualify something from just an idea to if some outreach has been done, to if it's on the mobility plan, to if it's scheduled for resurfacing, like trying to take a concept and make it more real. In reality, I feel like the optimism has been beaten out of me a little bit with this project list. I mean, DOT is just so short-staffed and semi-dysfunctional that if HLA passes, I don't know how the hell they're going to keep up, let alone take new ideas. I also think if HLA passes, one of the strategies we could pursue as a committee is, instead of trying to convince them to do bike lanes, we can just convince a council office to place a particular street on the repaving schedule, and then the ordinance would kick in. And if that street has a bike lane on it on the mobility plan, that's what it would get. So I think we should wait a minute and see what happens March 5th. And then maybe we address this in a different way. But I think a Trojan horse could just be to ask council offices to repave certain streets in our respective districts that we're really interested in.
Brilliant. Karen?
I've been wondering with HLA, if it passes, I noticed that they talk about community outreach. They're still gonna hold things up because they want to give people a chance to talk about it, or is this going to give them a little more power to move forward?
I think they will still do outreach. I think they should still do outreach. I think what it will do, hopefully, is give DOT more of a backbone to deal with some of these projects. It's a very different conversation with the community if you say, hey, do you want a bike lane here? And people yell and scream they don't, versus, hey, by law, we have to put a bike lane here. What is more important to the community? Is it parking on this side of the street? Is it a center turn lane? Maybe we can narrow the lane scope we want. That'll be the question. It'll be how, not should we do the project. And I think that'll be a fundamental difference and hopefully shorten outreach. But, like DOT already has a hierarchy. If something has no trade-offs, like the Fountain bike lane that was put in recently in East Hollywood, they just noticed the businesses. It was just an FYI, we're doing this, and that was it. There wasn't a single community meeting because there were no trade-offs. It was just narrowing the lanes. If something has minimal trade-offs, I might do 1 or 2 meetings, but again, it's very council office dependent today. CD13, for example, wants this Hollywood Boulevard project a lot faster than DOT is willing to go. And then with Adams, prior council members in CD10 slow walked Adams Vision Zero project for years before that actually went in. So I think all of that will go away and hopefully it'll be more standardized.
Anything else, Philip, for the good of the order?
No, that was it. I appreciate the additional attention to the project suggestion list.
Terrific, thank you. One of the things that we have committed to doing, and Glenn started this, is really watching city council files, and I think it's a brilliant and important part, is given that we're part of the city family, that we watch what our electeds are doing. And it takes more than 1 or 2 people, and I'm hoping that some people will consider helping us track city council files. Part of it can be just watching agendas come in, typically transportation, sometimes safety committee, and to note, but it's also just following up and tracking. Michael does some of that, Streets for All, and others are doing that, but we're really wanting to have some in-house experts or people that we can go to look at that. So if that is of interest to you, please, again, connect with me and we can see if we can get a small group of worker bees to manage that.
Rob, we can probably help with that. We have people that track transportation and public works committees and the full city council. And anytime, it's not just bikes, we pay attention to transit and pedestrian stuff like that, but we have a list of council files that we subscribe to. So if you want, we could just share it when we think something's interesting. And if you want to put it on the next agenda or the list, you're welcome to.
Thank you. Glenn?
Yeah, and before it gets to committee and council, it gets on the city clerk's referral list. And so I'm not sure if Michael's folks look at that when it comes out, usually like 3 or 4 times a week, or not. I don't necessarily see it on a daily basis, but that's where I've picked up some of the things that before they get to committee, which gives us an earlier notice, because sometimes it can be weeks or months or never. First, in some cases, they never get agendized for a committee. We have some of those. So anyway, I had told you and had told Eli and whatever I would, continue, but I do want to make sure we're not, I'd want to make sure we're coordinated. So in other words, I don't want to do things that Michael's already doing. I want to make sure that what I do is complements. And so if we had like,
So maybe between the 3 of us or Streets, whoever, I don't know if it's gonna be Michael or not, but maybe you, Glenn, and I we're the first team, and then Michael can input to us.
well, I think it sounds like they're comprehensively looking at transportation, public works, et cetera,
Right.
which is good. And actually some things get to the Board of Public Works before there's a council file. So that's good. And I do want to say, Rob, that I looked at what you had done, and I, because I remember in the committee, I had said something about a matrix, and I think what you've got is good for our needs, because it has the link, council file number, description, and if anyone wants to check the status, they can just click on the link and see it. So yeah, there's no point in making it too complicated. So I just wanted to share that thought. I'd thought about it since the meeting. Thanks.
Great, thanks for all that input and suggestions, and Michael, Glenn, I'll be in touch. Bike LA, Eli is not in attendance. Streets for All, I think you've covered everything, Michael, unless there's something that's come up. No, good. BAC member and officer reports. Why don't we do a once around? Lionel, anything happening in your parts of the woods that you want to share? Everybody's dry and warm?
Yeah. On this Thursday, the Metro Community Leadership Council will be having its first meeting in person from 6 to 7:30 to discuss the East Valley Light Rail project. Because I do understand that there's discussion in the past about bike lanes along the East Valley Rail project. So this on Thursday in Van Nuys on Sherman Way from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And I just we spoke so neighborhood councils along that route are involved or at least aware of it. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. We'll stay out in the valley. Glenn, I know you weren't quite as dry as you wanted to be, but any reports from your council district or area, region?
Well, I don't know. I heard that it was good weather on the other side of the hill, but we were getting heavy rains this evening, or an hour before the meeting, and I knew anyway. I just gonna talk about the city budget briefly. I was in a meeting with the DOT and Streets LA leadership during the past month, and it just something for folks to be aware, as it probably, you know, BAC probably can't weigh in, but just so everyone's aware, the new proposed budget will be released on or before April 20th. That's a Saturday, so it probably will be before April 20th. You know, probably be a weekday by the mayor. The council file number, I'll put it in the chat, but it will be 24-0600 as the new number. There are some folks who are working with Councilmember Bloomfield, who's chair of the City Council Budget, Finance, and Innovation Committee, to try to get that council file opened up earlier than usual, because sometimes it's as late as March, although we're already in February. So, but anyway, the sooner the better, because then people can start putting comments in. And the requested budget for both DOT, Streets LA, and for that matter, all the city departments are posted on the mayor's website. Now, just because they request it certainly does not mean that they're going to get that. And as a matter of fact, the city's
3 minutes.
Yeah, who's that?
Sorry, my
Oh, Brennan, okay.
Okay, I'm just about finished. The city's financial situation, despite increased revenues, they gave a lot of pay increases, and so they actually are facing a multi-$100 million deficit at this moment in time. That could change. So there's not like lots of money to just throw around. So there may be some decisions. They've already, you know, the city council already made some decisions about trying to prioritize even the hiring for vacant positions. So wanted you to have that council file number and just know you can look and see what the two primary departments that we work with or that have impact on bicycle projects. But you can look up any other one. And then once the council file is open, which hopefully will be very soon, then your organizations, et cetera, can put in the comments. Ultimately, the city council does very small changes percentage-wise to the budget, but sometimes it's helpful to have advocates supporting different initiatives, especially if they're new. So, for example, Streets LA, had over the past 2 years has had initiatives to repave not the whole street, but just the curb lane where the bike lanes are, and that was special funding in the budget. So, that's just an example. That's it. Thanks.
Mike, you had your hand up.
Yeah, related to the budget, I think everybody knows that there's a hiring freeze right now on most positions, but I wanted to give an update on specifically LADOT and active transportation. There are 8 new transportation planners that they've hired. 3 were temporary roles that are being made permanent. So it's a net gain of 5 people. People like the LABACs of the world, which is a huge percentage gain. And then for people like Charlie Ho, there are 4 new people starting. So it's a total of 12 new people, or if you subtract the ones that were already there, they're temporary, a total of 9 new people. DOT thinks that they've essentially doubled their capacity with these hires when it comes to active transportation and Vision Zero. So it's a really big deal. It's not that many bodies, and we still need way more in a city as large as we are, but it's still pretty good given the circumstances of the city's budget and everything else.
Great, thank you. Janice, do you have an opportunity to share what's happening in the valley or your neck of the woods?
Sorry, I'm having Zoom difficulties. Haven't done this for so long. A couple things. So when I zoomed in earlier, I apologize if there was background noise. I was having trouble getting myself muted. But I was actually at the Connecting Canoga Park community meeting about the proposed bicycle and streetscape infrastructure that they're going to be building in that community. Better connection between the Orange Line Bikeway and the River Bikeway in our neck of the woods and so forth. I saw Jeff Jacoberger while I was there, and afterwards we talked about a couple of related things. One is he mentioned that there's apparently a state bill of some sort that if it passed would allow groups such as ours to meet virtually. And so he is encouraging Councilmember Blumenfield to support that. It's a state measure, but to him to pass his yay on to the
It's good to have
state
a
folks.
former BAC chair working in an elected's office. So thank you. For that.
Yes, and especially as legislative director. So he's got his ear to all these legislative things that are going on, and not just at the city level. He also said that I reminded him about our missing folks, or that we're missing representation of certain districts, and Jeff will try to contact his counterparts or people in these other districts, specifically 10 and 14.
Wonderful.
And
Yeah.
to
You work it, Janice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we think there's some reluctance there. I'll just leave it at that, as this is a public meeting. And then he's already had contact, and I've had contact with McOsker in CD 15.
Thank you. Glenn, do you have a short question? or
Yes,
comment?
Janice, did Jeff say that the bill had been introduced or it's in the works to be introduced? Do you recall?
I thought that he didn't, I can't think that I don't recall him using that word. So I
Okay.
don't know whether it's in the works or introduced, but
I know there's a deadline to introduce bills and it may have passed, which means it's introduced. And probably Michael knows that deadline, but okay. And yeah, that's a big deal, not just for us, but for anything that's not. Hopefully they won't make it so complicated as they did for neighborhood councils, because there was a lot of hoops to have to jump through and restrictions. I did want to add, if I may, for CD3, I was on Reseda Boulevard during the past week, and that's the project from Victory Boulevard up to Parthenia, to various things, including protected bike lanes. And I noticed that they have put in protected bike lanes for much, not all, but much of it, and specifically between Sherman Way and Victory. That's the good news. The bad news is that the cars some of the cars are parking in the new areas where they're, outside the bike lane. And there's some cars that are parking along the curb, which is where the bike lane is. And I noticed, and I was not bicycling, otherwise I would have had to have been out in the moving lane of traffic. There were some places where the cars did both. So it was like double parking. They were parked against the curb and parked in, the newly designated area. Some of the cars looked like they were boxed in because they had cars in front, in back, and alongside, and there's no way those cars could have gotten out. So I did call LADOT traffic enforcement, and I told them that entire stretch, that's a mile stretch between Sherman Way and Victory, that they need to put that on their radar screen for enforcement, because until people learn, like they had to learn up in Northridge, they need. Anyway, I just want to share that, because that's just an example of a brand new protected bike lane without anyone there to give warnings or say, hey, this is where you park or whatever. So, and I acknowledge it's brand new, but even so, it's kind of amazing that people would think it's okay to double park. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and so the feedback that I gave at this community meeting was specifically around things like law enforcement and maintenance. That, we build these things, it's all well and good that we get these grants and we build this infrastructure that is supposedly going to make cycling and pedestrian activities a lot more safe in our community. But then if we let them fall into disrepair, and we don't do proper law enforcement around these areas, then we're just attracting people into being complacent and thinking that they're going to be protected, and they're not. Like my colleague who was riding on the river bikeway recently, a few months ago, and he was on a brand new e-bike. And this happened repeatedly, where somebody was like throwing rocks at him and seemed to be wanting to knock him off his bike. And others have complained about this as well, that there are people that are lying in wait down there trying to steal bikes.
I know I was on Venice Boulevard, I think coming back from one of these meetings, and I put a note in my pocket saying, bring pruning shears next time, because the tree overhangs are just so low. But yeah, maintenance and care is important for all.
Right.
Taylor, I know you're coming
you.
back from a couple days away. Did you have any reports that you wanted to give as the alternate?
No, the only thing I might add would be on Bike Talk last week, we had a really great interview with Miriam Pinsky about outreach for bicycle projects. And on this coming show, we have Gil Pinalosa on, who's really great. And he really crystallizes what we're fighting for about two things. Neighborhood streets being capped at 20 miles an hour, and on our arterial roads having a network of bike lanes. And so that's all I would add. Otherwise, Michael's got it covered.
I did put a plug in one of my emails this afternoon about Bike Talk, but
Thank you.
For your area.
Yeah, I'm still looking for an alternate. I had somebody in mind and he came to one of our meetings. He really enjoyed it, but he got overwhelmed by us, and you can certainly understand why. I hope you don't. But anyway, Alexander Sarno, he works for Fair and Pierce, and he's an urban planner. He said he would create a map of CD1.
Great.
So I'm gonna keep him to his word, and we're gonna do some bike rides with Louis Leva, I've known him for years. I didn't realize it. He lived in my neighborhood, and he's the mobility director at CD1. He's a real gung ho guy, and so I'm really excited about working with him.
Terrific.
I have nothing to report. I'm looking forward to the upcoming Ciclovia in Melrose, because I think that's a really good street. Yeah, I know there was an attempt to try to get that made more people friendly, and I'm hoping this can help move us in that.
Philip, anything from your council district?
Yes, hi, thanks for calling on me. So on February 1st, there was a virtual town hall for the Hollywood Safety and Improvement Project. And I think it was well attended. I heard just a moment ago, I heard talk of enforcing for protected bike lanes. And I just wanted to call your attention back to item 8B on this agenda, where LADOT asked the subcommittee for locations where we want them to put up signage that would inform motorists and others of how the bike lanes are supposed to be used and to keep them free and that sort of thing. And it sounded like perhaps that could be part of the solution, along maybe if people don't know, then it's hard for them to comply. And having them aware of what the requirements are makes enforcement easier.
Yep. I mean, I think anytime they put in protected bike lanes, signage needs to go up, right? So no one's going to know intuitively what the heck those are until 10 years from now. But in any case.
So Rob, do you want to convey that message to LADOT?
Sure, I'll let Bob give him a piece of my mind.
Okay, yeah, and if you could copy me, that would be great.
Julian or Brennan, anything?
No, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
No, I have one more thing. You a moment ago you were talking about the city budget, and so one of the ways in which stakeholders can have input into the city budget is through the budget advocates. And I'm on the LAPD team, and we have some questions that we're going to ask LAPD tomorrow, and they include questions on improving traffic safety. And so LADOT has key activities like enhancing community safety by reducing traffic fatalities through focused enforcement, which includes time on focused policing and community education hours. They also have a milestone for adjusting deployment locations for enforcement education based on changes in high fatality corridors. And another key activity is implementing strategies to mitigate street racing. And there's an activity also for maintaining a robust sobriety checkpoint and driving under the influence saturation program. And so we'll be asking them questions about that. And so in other words, I'm assuming that maybe some of us are on the LADOT team, but in other words, this is another way to have input into the city's budget process through the budget advocate teams that review the budget every year. And I was also on another department, and we got the department was really more responsive to me in that context than they ever would be as a neighborhood council representative.
Great, thank you. I think I went to jumped ahead to CD11. Julian or Brennan, anything more?
I've got a meeting. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my internet's crackling. But I've got a meeting with DOT a week from Thursday to just talk about what's going on with Lincoln and Bologna Creek right there. So to see, with the Caltrans vacation on that, so we can actually get some insight into what could happen there.
Venice Fest is coming back this summer, where they close down Venice Boulevard between Centinela and Grandview totally and take over both sides of the street. And the Mar Vista Farmers Market will offer bike valet to the event. The last time we did that, we had probably 100 bikes we valeted. It was super busy, a lot of fun. And
what's the date of that? That's great.
22nd. They're just taking applications for vendors and exhibitors. So, yeah. Taylor, did we get to you? Okay. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something to Brennan. I have a bunch of names for Caltrans, you know, if you want, I can call you and give them to you or send them to you.
Contacts?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. Carino, I know you're here. You've been muted.
Oh,
Did you wanna, anything from your side of the community?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. Today, I had a meeting with, Imelda Padilla, with Lionel to discuss about Van Nuys and about light rail and, um, talking about bikes, as far as, what Van Nuys might occur in the near future, because, we got like three, public transportation infrastructure projects are occurring. And I think Van Nuys is sort of this area that's going to change a lot. And no, I wanted to be focused on that, basically on Van Nuys, because I've been showing up in meetings. I'm hearing that they're going to put a class 4 bike lane on Sepulveda Boulevard, which is kind of a big change. A dedicated bike lane in Van Nuys. And I'm thinking that, Van Nuys will eventually have like bike lanes as well too. Just because how our area is set up geographically, and it's sort of a central hub for the valley. So kind of my interest is sort of the Van Nuys, and um I'm really excited and hopeful, and I
Right.
think getting in there early is crucial, to address, more more say on bicycle infrastructure for our area.
Thanks, Carino. Abraham, anything that you wanted to share?
No, I don't.
No, okay. William, or Christoph, who are, on the call, anything that you wanted to add to the meeting as we wrap up, or reports from your communities? Call-in user, anything you want to share about your biking infrastructure or cycling concerns? Okay, hearing none. I do want to, oh, Taylor, go ahead.
I've got a question for Michael, really quick. For the member of State Assembly District 51, Streets for All doesn't have a choice. I would normally pick the Democrat. Is that what Streets for All thinks?
Yeah, Rick Zabur has been great. We just released a report card for state legislators. I'll put a link in the chat. So maybe if you want to use as a guide, but Rick had I think he was in the top 5. He's outstanding.
Okay, great. He's the only one that I knew of. And also, there's my ballot for HLA.
Make sure you got the right box, Taylor. Thank you.
I just got mine today too.
Okay. There was an international student from Bangladesh, 23-year-old, killed by a drunk driver on January 10th. Kaushk, riding a scooter at West First Street in Bimini Place. Any other?
Kennedy, really?
Yeah. Any
Oh,
other
That's the Eco Village.
additions that people want to make?
Yes, it was right on our street.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the driver also knocked over a utility pole.
Wow.
A tiny street.
No, it wasn't. It was on First Street, and people do like street racing on First Street.
Got it.
Okay.
We are trying to do memorials and then heroes. Our first hero is Kent Stumple, but we really need to work on a certificate or something. So I'm gonna call on the mayor's office or others to see what we might do to be able to acknowledge more directly Kent's many years of service.
CD11.
CD11, yeah, yeah. So please stay tuned, but Kent, thank you for all of your work. He continues to connect and provide guidance to me around a number of different things. So thank you all. Any closing public comment that people want to make? Wise decisions of those who decided to zoom in. Sorry, oh, I see, oh, okay, Glenn is clapping now, raised hands. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for staying home and zooming in. Philip?
Yeah, I
Last-
just wanted to mention the last item on the agenda is our next meeting, so please mark your calendars for Tuesday, April 2nd.
April 2nd.
That's what the agenda says.
Oh, for a general meeting, right?
Yes,
That-
for the next iteration of this meeting.
Yes, right, right.
We're
And
gonna have a quorum.
your subcommittee is March 5th.
Let me look.
Sorry, March 19th.
Yes. Okay, so yes, it's
Listen to Bike Walk, Bike Talk, put the dates for all the ciclavias in your calendar and be sure to vote. Good night, all. Thank you.